Welcome into your Monday edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm DiStefano and David Morassutti. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final, tee up Game 3, which goes down tonight. We're giving away the Auston Matthews jersey, so make sure that you're tuning in for that one. And also, the new draft rankings have come out from TSN. Craig Button's draft rankings. We'll take a look at those and see who he's got at number 25, where the Maple Leafs pick in his rankings and in that general area. All of that and more on today's edition of Locked On Leafs.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Leafs podcast, one-stop shop for all things Leafs. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano from TSN 1050 Toronto Radio, also known as Al's brother from TSN's Overdrive and TSN 1050's Leafs Lunch. Joining me is my co-host, Dave Morassutti from Sportsnet, also writer for the NHL PA. Locked On Leafs is a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. You can also now catch us up on video format on YouTube. That's Locked On Leafs on YouTube. And we are giving away that Auston Matthews jersey today. The day has come. We had, over 100 entries, I think, on the last video, over 100 comments telling us the correct answer. And we'll tell you the correct answer in just a moment. And then we're also going to do the giveaway. Before we get into that and get into the draft, though, let's chat a little bit about what we saw happen Saturday night. An absolute beatdown. The Colorado Avalanche laid on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Dude, I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming at all. That was a textbook game from the Avs.
Yeah, no, they absolutely dummied the Lightning. Like the more interesting part was that Andrei Vasilevsky was left to just take the bullets in the third period. I thought they would have given him the rest of the period off. Maybe that's just something that they've never really needed to do with him, but yeah, that was just textbook butt whooping from the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah, 7-0 was the final score, and Vasilevsky, I mean, has he ever allowed 11 goals in a 2-game span before? That's what we're looking at right now when it comes to the Avalanche. They've been able to put 11 past Andrei Vasilevsky here in the last couple of games, and some of it coming on the power play or special teams starting to show up and dominate in that one for the Avs. Only 4 of which I guess were scored at 5-on-5, but in general, they just did not allow Tampa to do anything either. Like, they didn't give Vasilevsky any help on the offensive end. Tampa, legitimately, their expected goal number for that entire game at 5-on-5 was 0.35 expected goals. So they weren't even expected to score half a goal. Like, not even expected to score a goal. And then once you factor in power play time, full on in all situations, 1.09. So their expected numbers were not great at all. And a lot of credit to Colorado for just taking the bull by the horns and just dominating that game and not giving up anything. I mean, there was a point in that third period where Cale Makar had more goals or had just as many goals in the third period than the Tampa Bay Lightning had shot attempts. Not even shots, but shot attempts, Dave. It was just a massacre.
It's just one of those where you kind of wonder, we've seen Tampa give up. Like, I mean, I think game 1 was a 5-1 loss against the Leafs. Like, we've seen them give up 5 goals, but this was just 7-0, and they had there was nothing from Tampa. Like, I had no, like, if you were Darcy Kemper, you weren't worried about whether you were going to get the shutout or not. That's how I felt. Like, it just felt like they were in control right from the start to the end.
It's weird because they were been a team that for the last 2-3 years, like, they've been the bounce back team. I mean, they didn't lose back-to-back games in the playoffs for 2 years in a row, and they finally lost the first back-to-back game when they lost games 1 and 2 in New York. And then they go out and they typically, even in the game 2 against New York, they're the better team. They just happen to lose the game. And then all of a sudden, you lose game 1 to Colorado, and they go out and they say, we didn't play our best game by a country mile. We got to be better. And they play worse. Somehow they play worse, Dave. It was It was weird, man. Weird to see. Very uncharacteristic. And Steven Stamkos came out and said it's unacceptable, the performance that they put on. Game 3 going down tonight, though, and this time it's going back to Tampa. The series is shifting to Florida here. It's going to be down at Amalie Arena. Should we now expect to see the real Tampa Bay Lightning show up here? I mean, they kind of have to, or else this one's gone.
I'm very curious to see what game 3, like how the Lightning respond, because we've seen this team overcome 2-0 start, being out down 2-0 in the series. I'm just curious to see, is this the case of Colorado just showing that they're the better team? Like the pace of play that they play at is just too much for Tampa to overcome?
Yeah.
Or is Tampa just kind of picking their spot a little bit, waiting to get back home? Because really, for me, it's always, and I think even our good buddies over, our buddy Ross at Locked On Senators kind of said it. It's never really over until you lose that game at home. And I feel like that's got to be it for Tampa too, right? We can't count out the champs until they lose that game at home. And that's why I said Colorado needs to end this thing early, because you gave Tampa even that smidget of hope to come back in it. And this is where I think the Colorado Avalanche need to make that statement in game 3 and say, we're not giving them any opportunity to get back into this series.
Yeah, if Colorado could come out and if they can get a split in Tampa and go back for game 5 in Colorado with a 3-1 series lead, man, I like their chances. I like their chances a lot to finally knock off the Kings in the Tampa Bay Lightning. I really, really do. We'll see what happens tonight, though. Should be another great game, as per usual. And if you want to take a peek and go ahead and lay some money tonight on the game, you can do that over at Bet Online. It's your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sport developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball playoffs, and also you can put some money on the draft coming up this year as well. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline is the fastest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. I'm Mike DiStefano. Got Dave Morassutti with me. We are your hosts here at Locked On Leafs, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast. We put out new episodes each and every day, Monday through Friday. So make sure that you are subscribed either via wherever you get your podcast, also up on YouTube. And for our YouTube subscribers, thank you so much for getting us up over 1,000 subs not too long ago. And it initiated our Auston Matthews jersey giveaway. And I think it's time to give it away now, Dave. I believe it's time to give it away. So while you're pulling up the whatever
I
website,
fancy YouTube comment picker.
yeah, the YouTube comment picker. I'll explain again what it was. So for a thank you, gratitude from Dave and I for getting us to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we decided to give away a jersey, and it's an Auston Matthews, which I believe actually I have right here. So it is this Auston Matthews jersey for you, all right? So those on YouTube can obviously see it. If you're listening, just imagine what an Auston Matthews jersey looks like, obviously. So that's the jersey that we're giving away to one lucky listener right about now. And how you got that? Well, you subscribed to our YouTube channel, so make sure that you are subscribed. And we did a little Name That Leaf trivia all last week. We gave out 5 clues, and by the end of it, hopefully you were able to come up with a name. It sounded like everybody was, and that was pretty well. I mean, once you got that last clue, that was pretty easy, which so I'll go through the clues again. He's a former Maple Leaf draft pick. He was drafted out of the WHL. He represented Canada at the World Championships. He was on the playoff roster in 2013. And then if you didn't get it from there, because there was a few players that could have been like Morgan Riley, technically, up in like those 4. Morgan Riley fits the bill for those 4 guys. And then the last clue, which was the dead giveaway, he's the last homegrown drafted developed goalie the Maple Leafs had made into a starter. The answer was James Reimer. James Reimer was the answer. Everybody got it right, or everybody who at least commented got it right. So congratulations. And why don't we go ahead, do the randomizer and give it away?
So we had 93 comments from people who've guessed. I just put Reimer as the criteria here so that we, just in case somebody just put Reimer down, I didn't want that to be a technicality that they lost out the jersey on. So we have 93 potential winners. All right. So the way we do this is we usually do it 3 times.
Yeah.
Just give a little bit of suspense. Sorry for anybody who gets the first 2, but that's just the best way to do it. So let's get it going.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Twine Sniper. Sorry. Number 1. Number 2, Mike Bradshaw.
And number 3, the
we
winner
go.
of the Auston Matthews jersey is
It is MB.
MB. Whoever MB is. MB. Would that also be like Mike Bradshaw, or is that Mike
I
Will?
think
Michael Wilk?
I think it's actually just Mike Bradshaw because he is winner number 3. Or is it Michael? Hold on. All right, I'm losing out here. I'm losing my mind here. Yeah, no, it's MB. MB.
Okay, so Wilson would have been the first one. Twine Sniper was second. Mike Bradshaw was the third and the winner. So, Mike Bradshaw, congratulations. You have won yourself the Auston Matthews jersey. If you could get a hold of myself or Dave on Twitter or Instagram, rather, you can get a hold of me, Mickey Canuck, at Mickey Canuck on Instagram, and I'll figure out a way to get
Twitter
that
handles are below.
to you. Yeah, or you can reach out to us on Twitter. I don't know if my DMs are open, to be honest. Dave's might be open. Or you can actually, our Locked On Leafs DMs are open. So at Locked On Leafs.
Yeah,
you
go
can
to
DM
the
us.
Locked On Leafs Twitter account and you can find us over there.
Yeah. So congratulations. Congrats. We'll be doing another giveaway at some point, maybe when the season starts next year, and do something for you guys. We'll come up with another subscriber count we want to get to. I guess. I mean, what's the next one? I guess like 5,000. I guess would be like the next big milestone that we want to hit. I think we're at 1,200 now. So if we could get to 5,000, I think another giveaway would be in order. But for now, congratulations to Mike Bradshaw, MB. I'm guessing. Get a hold of us and we'll get you your jersey. All right, Dave. Why don't we take a look at some draft rankings? We've been eliminated from the playoffs for over a month. We've barely looked at the draft rankings, even though the Maple Leafs actually do have a first round pick this year. I know they typically do not pick in the first round since they traded away so often, but this year they do. They got the 25th overall selection in the draft. And why don't we take a peek at some of the guys who are going to be in and around that list? I mean, we can start at the top, actually, kind of go through Craig Button's top 25, I suppose. So why don't we look at Craig Button's list? I don't know if you can pull it up here.
Yep.
We could probably look at it. Yeah, so let's start up at the top. So I'm sure most of you guys are aware of the top player, and that's Shane Wright, centerman out of Kingston. He's getting a lot of praise for being somebody who's, a Patrice Bergeron, John Tavares type of player, Andre Kopitar. It's a really good two-way center, somebody who's not flashy but can shut you down, but also, put the puck in the back of the net a little bit. He's ranked as the number 1, and Craig Button said there was no waiver there. He was always going to be number 1, despite there being, a player or two who are starting to rise up rankings and some other people's. Like I saw at The Athletic, Corey Prodman had Yuri Slafkovsky, the winger from Slovakia, up there at number 2 overall. And if you'll recall, when we did that trade, hypothetical trades to what was it, to New Jersey, who holds that second overall pick, it was to go up and get this guy, Yuri Slafkovsky, a 6'4", 230-pound, 18-year-old winger who had played at the World Championships, played at the Olympics. The kid's going to be a stud, an absolute stud. So he's a real solid player that is contending for first, but according to Craig Button, comfortably behind Shane Wright for second overall in the rankings. Joachim Kemmel, another solid player coming in at third, who played in the Liga this year. Logan Cooley, a top 5 pick. He's going to be a centerman coming out of the USHL. Seaman Nemec, a defenseman. David Juracek, another defenseman out of Czech Republic. Cutter Gauthier, another American out of the USHL, coming in at 7th. Jimmy Snuggand, a right winger coming in out of the USHL. And then from Djurgårdens, who said Jonathan Lakarami, a right winger from Sweden. And then Kevin Korchinski from the WHL Seattle Thunderbirds, defenseman, 6'2", buck 85. Some pretty good size there. Dave, why don't you take over from 11 through 20 and let the people know who Craig Button have 11 through 20.
Another defenseman. This is a run of defenseman a little bit here. Pavel Mintyukov out of Saginaw.
Mintyukov, I actually coached him at the prospects game.
So I'm some of these, like when it comes to these like Russian sort of names, you have to bear with me a little bit here. Some of them are a little easier than other. You have Dina Yurov out of Menogorsk over in the KHL. You got Owen Pickering. What a name. That's such a WHL name. Swift Current.
Coached him as well at the prospects game.
He is a big boy.
Yeah, 6'4", buck 80. Yeah.
6'4". Wow. You got Yuri Kulich from Karlovy in the Czech League. Quite a few players from the Czech League in the. It feels like Craig Button spent a little bit of time in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Scandinavians in early in this draft that really seem to be making their way up some draft boards. I often wonder, and we're going to get some people on over the next couple of weeks before the draft to talk about all of these prospects in a little bit more detail than Dave and I are able to do so. But I just wonder, when I'm looking at this, I see so many Europeans as opposed to CHLers, and I just wonder how much of that is due to the fact that a lot of these guys this year, or over the last couple of seasons, had lost so much development time at like 15, 16, 17 years old due to the pandemic. Meanwhile, overseas, things weren't locked down as much as they were, and their development may not have been slowed as much. And therefore, here at age 18, their draft year, they're just a little bit ahead of schedule than some of these Canadian and American kids.
Yeah, for sure. Next on the list at number 15, we got Ivan Miroshnichenko. That is a long name, from Omsk, the VHL, so the second tier league in Russia, just below the KHL. Jaeger Furkis, I know you spent some time with him over at the Top Prospects game out of
Yeah, that kid's a stud. He's small, like a really small kid, but he's a dynamic playmaker.
Yeah, so we go over to the
Good
Swedish.
skater,
We
too.
have Marco Kasper. He's at number 17 out of Rogel. We have Liam Ogren from another Swedish winger. 33 goals in 30 games. That's pretty impressive. I know it's the junior league, but it's still pretty impressive for the Swedish league there. You have Matt Savoy out of Winnipeg in the WHL, centerman over there. 35 goals, 65 games. Not too bad. Reed Schaefer from Seattle in the WHL. So we're starting to get a few more Canadians showing up here now. Alexander Pervalov over in the MHL. Again, more Russian junior leagues here. David Goyette from Sudbury. Heard his name actually a few times.
He was at the Top Prospects game as well. David Goyette was.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We have Luca Del Beluz. That is a
Del Bell Blues for the Mississauga Steelheads.
What a name.
He's a good player, though. He's a solid pick. I don't know if where I want the Leafs to lean. I haven't quite dove into it as much as I probably should, and I'm going to over the next couple of weeks. But this is the list. The names that we're getting to right now.
This is what I was about to say. We're getting into that Leafs range right now.
Yeah. This is the Leafs range that we're getting into, because they pick at 25, and Del Bell Blues is 23 on Craigslist. Denton Matejchuk, a defenseman out of Moose Jaw, coached him as well. Stud, 5'10", buck 94. He's got a big frame that he could grow into as well. I like Matejchuk a lot. He'd be an interesting pick at 24. Frank Nazar is here at 25, an American-born centerman, and that's 25 is where the Leafs pick. Obviously, it doesn't mean it's going to match up exactly with Craig's rankings, but that is the 25th pick. Rutger McGroarty is a player that a lot of people really want, because he's a bit of a two-way forward, a power forward, 6'1", 204 pounds, can play the left side, can play down the middle. American-born player is going to college. So that's, with the Leafs, they're looking for size up front, And he's a guy who a lot of people are starting to circle as a favorite that they want on the squad. Plays the left side too, which is opposite of Marner and Nylander.
Leafs do like their USHL guys. They
And
do.
they love their USHL guys. Absolutely love those guys. So that's a name to kind of keep an eye on. Rucker, McGroarty, Callie O'Dulius coming in at 27.
I've heard his name a little bit too.
I have as well as a potential shot for the Maple Leafs. I'm going to go down a little bit to another name that a lot of Leaf fans are looking at. Noah Ostlund at 30th overall in Craig's draft rankings. Another one of those Djurgården Swedish kids. A bit of a smaller skilled player, but he's someone who's got a lot of skill. So he's a guy who potentially could end up being in that 25 range. So we'll see what ends up happening though. We'll see where the Leafs land and where they end up picking. It should be, over the next couple of weeks, we'll dive deeper into the draft market and we'll be able to try and get some updates on and some scouting reports on these players in particular that are in the Leafs range. We'll get some guys on. Tony, our favorite's going to have to join us for sure. See if we can get maybe we can get Craig to come on as well. Good buddy of mine from TSN. And, the Athletic got a couple of guys. Chris Peters has been on the show before. We'll get some draft coverage cooking here in the not so distant future. But I think that's going to do it for us here today. Quick pod. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend and a good Father's Day. If you are a father and we're celebrating that yesterday, hopefully it was a good time for you. And Game 3 tonight of the Stanley Cup Final should be a good one. I'm excited for it. Tampa's really got to come through or else they are cooked. They are cooked. All right, that's to do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. Follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Leave a like, a comment on YouTube as well. Make sure you are subscribed. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow, folks. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.